Hello everyone, welcome to our discussion of the Indian Contract Act 1872. Myself, Assistant Professor Vidisha Vora from LG School of Law, Ahmedabad, and today's our discussion will flow for the history, nature and scope of the Indian Contract Act. If we go through the focus area for today's discussion, then we shall be going through the importance and relevance of this particular act. After going through the importance, we'll be going through the historical aspects, then we'll look into the nature, and then we see the scope of this particular act. Indian Contract Act 1872. You must be thinking that how far this 150 years old law is concerned in current scenario. Then let me get it through the history or historical aspect, that how far it is relevant to us. This is an act considered as a base for all the developed commercial laws which we are going through or which we are having right now. How this is, after incorporation of this Indian Contract Act 1872, we had another Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, then we had Partnership Act, then we had Sale of Goods Act. So this is being considered as a basis for the commercial laws. It is also considered as a backbone to all the trade related activities. How far backbone? It provides the ground, or it provides the structure for creating a particular rights and obligation as far as the trade related activities are concerned. That's why it's being treated as a backbone for the industry, trade, commerce and everything. You all must be thinking that since the inception of our discussion we are talking about trade and commerce only, then is this a law related to only trade and commerce? No, it's not like that. It is a law particularly impacting, affecting or touching each and everyone, irrespective of the zone you are entering into, that is you are into profession, you are into service or whatsoever your concerned area of working. Yes, it is affecting everybody, even if you are not working. Let me give an example. Every morning we do have milk bags ready. By the time we wake up at our doorstep, we have newspaper at our doorstep, and in case any day that newspaper vendor or that milk delivery person defaults, that is he is not supplying, what we do, we used to cut the money from the total bill. What exactly it is? It is a kind of contract only. So this is something related to each and everyone, but it is having a very vast impact on the trade related activities. After going through the importance, now let's go through the history. For understanding history, we have bifurcated whole development into three parts. The first part goes before 1661. Why 1661? We all are very much aware that the East India Company came to India in the year 1608, first at the Surat. They came first to Surat and then they started developing the network. Before that, we do have rule of king and kingdom. Kingship was the major concern or the major driving force at that point of time. So that was something different. Each and every state, that is Raj Rajwada, they do have their own set of rules and regulation. But from 1661 to 1872, that is the second phase. It is a very important phase. Reason being, two major charters were developed during this phase: the Charter of 1661 and Charter of 1726. You shall be going through this particular topic in detail in your Indian constitutional history subject. So we are not touching that right now. The third phase, 1872 onwards, this is the phase from when this particular act has developed. That is, from 1774 we had converted, that is the East India Company has converted the mayor's court into the Supreme Court. Then we had the involvement of this particular act, that is Indian Contract Act. Hence 1872 onwards is the important phase which we shall be looking into while learning this particular act. The third phase, being a law student, whenever you are learning any particular act, then what you need to consider is you first have to develop an understanding of the name of that particular act. If we go through this act, then we need to understand three basic words. The first is Indian, second is contract, and the last one is 1872, what exactly it speaks about. Let's go through one by one. Indian. Hereby, India means whole of India except Jammu and Kashmir. Except Jammu and Kashmir. But this was the story, or this was the line applicable till October 2019. What happened in October 2019? We all are very much aware about that. In August 2019, Indian Parliament, or rather both the houses of the Indian Parliament, has upheld a particular law that is called a reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir. which came into force from 31st of October 2019. Hence, from the day of considering Jammu and Kashmir as a part and parcel for the legislative governance, as a part of India, we will be remembering India means whole of India without exception, without any exceptions from October 2019. Now, second one, that is contract. If we need to understand contract, then we need to understand the definition given under section 2H, which specifies that any agreement enforceable by law is a valid contract. We shall be going through in another session what exactly contract means. And after that, the last one, what exactly 1872 means, from which date this particular law came into. Is it from my birth date or your birth date or from 1st January? Which date exactly we are talking about? Then this 1872 specifies, or rather it is having two dates. The first date was 30th April 1872. 30th April is a date on which this particular act was enacted, means formed. But 1st September 1872 is a date from when this particular act came into force from, means it started applicable to, or rather application of this particular act has commenced. So commencement or application of this particular act. So from exam point of view, you need to remember both of these dates. Why I am telling you both? In one of the judiciary examination, the question has been asked like, the enforcement date of the Indian Contract Act is, then it should be the 1st of September, but the enactment date of the Indian Contract Act should be 30th April 1872. After that, the next phase of discussion is of nature of contract. How exactly the contractual law, what its nature, what is the binding or what's the scope of this thing. Then this law do not create any kind of rights and duties. Now what exactly it means? If it is a law and it's not binding, then how far that's a law? That's a basic question we do have. But here it is not binding you or not giving you any particular class of a specific regulation. Rather, it gives you freedom to create your own rules and regulation. Your own rules and regulation means it gives freedom to the parties of the contract to decide their boundaries. It is just giving you a general principle. This act is giving just general principle regarding what should be there, what should not be there. Let me give you an example. We all are very much aware, and being an Indian, we are very much a fan of the cricket, right? But if we talk about the international cricket and we talk about our gully cricket, you can correlate this thing. In gully cricket we can keep like a one pitch out or something, but in international cricket it's having different things. So it's a law which gives you freedom to decide your own boundaries, but once you have decided, you cannot overlap that. After that, basic nature. This is what I talk about the general law at large, but now we are talking about the base of this particular law. Then this is not a exhaustive, means this law is inclusive. It is including all those laws which are having overriding impact. Means all those laws which are not connecting with this particular law will also be getting impact on this thing. We shall be learning this in detail in our further session. Then it does not override any kind of customs or usage of the trade. So it is giving equal weightage to any kind of customary provisions. It creates jus in personam, so it gives you right against the person. So this is what a very important philosophy, or it is a very important terminology to understand the contractual law and its nature. The last phase of discussion goes like scope of the act. What is the scope of this particular act? Now, this law means the Indian Contract Act does not profess to be a complete code. Reason being, its nature itself says that it's inclusive in nature. So it's not the only or exhaustive, or it is not the complete code, but it is an inclusive code. This can be understood further with the reference of clause 3 of the section 1. Clause 3 of this particular section says that it is allowing any prevailing legislation, rules, regulations not inconsistent with the provisions of this act. So it keeps its boundary open for other laws to be included even. This law is exhaustive. Yes, it's not like that whatever you say will be included, whatever trade and practices you are coming with will be included. Reason being clause 3 of section 1 says no, it is not like that. It has kept its boundary closed for, or it is known as an exhaustive law to the extent which is not permissible within this particular act, that is not permissible to import the principles of the English law. Reason being, we have developed the Indian version of the contract law, so we shall not be including or importing any provisions of the English law which are not in consistence with this particular law. If we conclude our today's discussion, then we need to keep this as a learn by heart point. What are that? The first point is Indian Contract Act 1872 came into force from 1st September 1872. Second, it extends to whole of India without any exceptions from October 2019 onwards. And the third one, it gives freedom to the parties of contract to decide their own rights and limitations, definitely with certain legal boundaries to be followed or kept in mind. If you have any doubts, any queries, then definitely you can write it us. But before that, for next session, our agenda will be discussion of the basic concepts regarding offer, acceptance and contract. Till then, if you have any query, you may mail me on vidhishash, that is vidisha@helcheinstitutes.edu.in. Till then, thank you so much everyone. Thank you.